Conclusion of Zulfikar, Hizb al-Wird al-Akbar. Today I recited Jawshan al-Kabir and the Hizb-i Nuri. I saw and bore witness that Jawshan al-Kabir, the Risale-i Nur, and the Hizb-i Nuri illuminate the universe from beginning to end and disperse the darknesses of gloom. They shatter heedlessness and the claims of naturalism into fragments. They tear away the veils beneath which the people of heedlessness and misguidance seek to hide. I observed that they card the universe with all its varieties like cotton and comb it through with fine combs. Behind the last and widest veils of the universe, in which the people of misguidance are drowned, they reveal the lights of divine unity. Even upon those veils which are the furthest and broadest points of reliance for the people of science, like cosmographers, and which serve as the grounds of heedlessness, they display the light of divine oneness. There, too, they pursue their adversaries and dismantle their most distant fortresses of refuge. Everywhere, they guide the way to abiding presence. Should one flee to the sun, they say to him, "It is but a stove, a lamp. Who provides its fuel, its oil? Know this and come to your senses." And they strike him upon the head with this truth. Moreover, they show the universe from beginning to end to be like mirrors reflecting the manifestations of the divine names in such a way that no room remains for heedlessness. Nothing becomes an obstacle to presence, huzur. Unlike the path of some among the people of the spiritual way, tariqat, and of truth, haqiqat, who seek perpetual presence by negating the universe or by forgetting it and refusing to recall it, I saw that they bestow a degree of presence as vast as the universe itself and open a circle of worship as wide, comprehensive, and enduring as the expanse of the cosmos. In the Hizb-i Nuri, the truth contained in tafakkuru sa'atin ila akhirih. 1 hour of reflection upon the works and signs of God is better than a year of supererogatory worship, gave me a firm and decisive conviction that this reality is indeed present. Said Nursi. Bismihi subhanahu. In his name, glory be to him. My dear brothers, this Hizb-i Nuri possesses a very great spiritual wonder that pertains to my own person. Now is the time to make it known. 23 years ago, when the old Sayyid was transformed into the new Sayyid, since I'd taken the path of reflection, I sought the secret of tafakkuru sa'atin khayrun min ibadati sanatin. 1 hour of reflection is better than a year of worship. Every 1 to 2 years, that secret would yield a treatise, sometimes in Arabic, sometimes in Turkish, its form changing while the essence remained the same. From the Arabic treatise of the droplet, Katre Risalesi, up to the treatise of the supreme sign, Âyetü'l-Kübrâ. That truth continued, changing its outward forms, until it finally assumed the enduring form of Hizb al-Akbar al-Nuri. For the past 20 years, whenever I have been distressed, or whenever weariness and fatigue have come upon my mind and heart, if I recited a portion of this Hizb reflectively, it would remove that distress, weariness, and fatigue. Indeed, without exception, it has occurred 1,000 times that the weariness and exhaustion resulting from 4 or 5 hours of activity each night toward dawn would leave no trace at all upon reciting merely 1/6 of this Hizb. Yes, it continues even now. Said Nursi. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. In the name of God, the Merciful, the Compassionate, a concise treatise, Arabic in expression, which is a manifestation of the hadith, tafakkuru sa'atin khayrun min ibadati sanatin. 1 hour of reflection is better than a year of worship, and which is a most luminous proof of the Risale-i Nur, a supreme and greatest litany, and a condensed exemplar of it, a mighty act of intellectual remembrance and a majestic science of faith. It has arisen from the union of the Arabic 29th flash and the 7th ray, both bearing the name the Supreme Sign, Âyetü'l-Kübrâ, so designated by Ali ibn Abi Talib, and stands as a great litany, Hizb al-Akbar, for the people of knowledge. Thus, for the students of the Risale-i Nur, who either possess full command of Arabic or who keep at hand and read the supreme sign, the supplication, and the 20th letter, it may serve as a supreme litany to be recited from time to time, strengthening faith and deepening reflection. When recited once every 10 days, it brings about great expansion and strength in faith. Said Nursi. The translation and exposition of this part may be found in the second station of the treatise The Supreme Sign. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. قل لو كان معه آلهة كما يقولون إذا لابتغوا إلى ذي العرش سبيلا سبحانه وتعالى عما يقولون علوا كبيرا تسبح له السماوات السبع والأرض ومن فيهن وإن من شيء إلا يسبح بحمده ولكن لا تفقهون تسبيحهم إنه كان حليما غفورا. فاعلم أنه لا إله إلا الله. First degree. آمنا بأنه لا إله إلا الله الواجب الوجود الواحد الأحد الفرد الصمد الذي دل على وجوب وجوده في وحدته وعلى عظمة قدرته في حشمة سلطنته السماوات الشاهدات بكلمات النجوم والشموس والأقمار والسيارات المحركات المسخرات بالإرادة المدورات المدبرات بالمشيئة الموظفات المنظمات بكمال الحكمة والانتظام والمستخدمات المستوقدات بغاية المحافظة والميزان فالأجرام العلوية والكواكب الدرية في قبة الفلك بكمال ظهور شهاداتها مجسمات نيرات براهين ألوهيته وعظمته وبغاية وضوح دلالتها شعاعات شواهد ربوبيته وعزته تشهد على شعشعة سلطنة ألوهيته وتنادي على وسعة حاكميته في إحاطة ربوبيته بجميع العوالم والأشياء فاستمع إلى آية أفلم ينظروا إلى السماء فوقهم كيف بنيناها وزيناها ثم انظر إلى وجه السماء كيف ترى سكوتا في سكونآت حركة في حكمآت تلألؤا في حشمآت تبسما في زينآت مع انتظام الخلقات مع اتزان الصنعة تشعشع سراجها لتبديل المواسم ولتحويل صحائف الفصول إلى قلم القدرة لكتابة سطور النباتات والحيوانات تهلهل مصباحها لتنوير المنازل ولتقويم الأوقات وتعيين السنين تلألؤ نجومها لتنوير الكائنات وتزيين العوالم تعلن لأهل النهى ربوبية في سلطنة بلا انتهاء لتدبير هذا العالم. In the name of God, the merciful, the compassionate, say, if there had been other gods together with him, as they claim, then they would surely have sought a way to the Lord of the throne. Glory be unto him, exalted is he, infinitely above what they say. The seven heavens and the earth, and all within them glorify him. There is nothing that does not glorify him with praise, though you do not understand their glorification. Surely he is most forbearing, most forgiving. So know that there is no God but God. We believe and affirm that there is no God but God, the necessarily existent, the one, the single, the unique, the self-sufficient, al-Samad, he who indicates the necessity of his existence in his unity, and the grandeur of his power within the majesty of his sovereignty. The heavens bearing witness to him through the words of the stars, the suns, and the moons, through the planets, set in motion and subjected by will, revolving and directed by choice, assigned their duties, and ordered with perfect wisdom and order, employed and set ablaze with the utmost preservation and balance. Thus, the lofty celestial bodies and the luminous stars within the dome of the heavens, with the utmost clarity of their testimony, are embodied, radiant proofs of his divinity and grandeur, and with the utmost lucidity of their indication, they are shining rays of the evidences of his lordship and might. They testify to the dazzling splendor of his sovereignty and divinity, and proclaim the vastness of his governance within the all-encompassing scope of his lordship over all worlds and all beings. So, listen to the verse. Have they not looked at the heaven above them, how we built it and adorned it? Quran, chapter 50, verse 6. Then look at the sky, how you behold stillness within serenity, motion within wisdom, sparkling brilliance within majesty, a smiling beauty within adornment, together with the order of creation and the balance of artistry. See how its lamp, the sun, shines forth to bring about the changing of the seasons and to transform the pages of the years into a pen of power, writing the lines of plants and animals. Observe how its lamp, the moon, glow to illuminate dwellings, to regulate times, and to determine years. See how its stars glitter to illuminate living beings and to adorn the worlds, proclaiming to those endowed with intellect a lordship within a sovereignty without end, governing this universe. Second degree, لا إله إلا الله الذي دل على وجوب وجوده في وحدته وعلى غاية وسعة رحمته في سرعة فعالية قدرته، الجو الشاهد بكلمات السحاب والرياح والرعود والبروق والأمطار المسخرات، المصروفات المدبرات الموظفات بإيصال هدايا الرحمن ونقل لطائف المواد والأصوات إلى أنواع ذوي الحياة والإنسان بقصد الإحسان وإرادة الإنعام في تحولاتها وحركاتها المشوشة في الظاهر، المنظمة في الحقيقة، بشهادة حكمها وفوائدها وتطابقها لمظان حاجات ذوي الحياة. There is no God but God, he who indicates the necessity of his existence in his unity and the utmost vastness of his mercy through the swift and effective activity of his power. The atmosphere bears witness to him by means of the words of the clouds, the winds, the thunders, the lightnings, and the rains, all of them subjected, directed, administered, and employed to deliver the gifts of the All-Merciful, and to convey the subtle elements of matter and sound to the various kinds of living beings and to humankind, with the purpose of bestowal and by the will to confer bounty. In their transformations and motions, seemingly confused in appearance, yet perfectly ordered in reality, they testify, through the wisdom they display, the benefits they yield, and their precise correspondence to the anticipated needs of living beings, to the one who administers them. Third degree. لا إله إلا الله الذي دل على وجوب وجوده في وحدته وعلى إحاطة حاكميته وحكمته وإرادته لكل شيء، جميع العناصر الشاهدات بكلمات مواليدها المصنعات بالمشيئة ونتائجها المنظمات بالإرادة وخدماتها المكملات بالحكمة، ووظائفها المنتظمات بالقصد، بكمال المسخرية والانقياد والإطاعة والانتظام في ترابها وحديدها ومائها وهوائها، مع جمودها وجهلها وتشاكسها ومشوشيتها وتشابهها وتماثلها وانتشارها واستيلائها، بلا قيد في ذواتها، مع كمال موزونية وانتظام ما في أيديها. نعم، تلألؤ الضياء من تنويره تشهيره لإراءة عجائب صنعته، تموج الرياح من تصريفه توظيفه بقصد إيصال أوامره إلى مصنوعاته، تفجر الأنهار من تدخيره تسخيره، تزين الأحجار من تجهيزه تدبيره لمنافع ذوي الحياة من عباده، تبسم الأزهار من تزيينه تحسينه للتعرف والتودد إلى مخلوقاته، تبرج الأثمار من إنعامه إكرامه لإحساس كمال فضله وكرمه، تسجع الأطيار من إنطاقه إرفاقه لإشعار حسن إدارته ولطف ربوبيته، تهزج الأمطار من تنزيله تفضيله لتبشير حيواناته في إمدادات نباتاته، تحرك الأقمار من تقديره تدويره لتعيين الأوقات والسنين لذوي الشعور من خلقه، سبحانه ما أنور برهانه، ما أبهر سلطانه. There is no God but God, He who indicates the necessity of His existence in His unity and the all-encompassing scope of His dominion, wisdom and will over all things. All the elements bear witness to Him by means of the words of their offspring, fashioned by divine will, by their results, ordered through purposeful volition, by their services, perfected through wisdom, and by their functions, arranged with intent, with the utmost degree of subjugation, submission, obedience, and order. Despite the inertness, unconsciousness, mutual opposition, apparent confusion, resemblance, similarity, diffusion, and unrestricted predominance in their own essences, such as earth, iron, water, and air, there is, at the same time, a perfect balance and order in what is placed in their hands. Yes, indeed. The sparkling of light arises from His illumination, proclaiming the marvels of His artistry. The undulation of the winds comes from His direction and employment, conveying His commands to His creatures. The gushing forth of rivers issues from His treasuring and subjugation. The adornment of stones proceeds from His preparation and administration for the benefit of living beings among His servants. The smiling of flowers springs from His adornment and beautification for recognition and loving acquaintance with His creatures. The display of fruits arises from His bestowal and generosity, so that the perfection of His grace and munificence may be perceived. The warbling of birds comes from His making them speak and showing kindness, to make known the excellence of His governance and the gentleness of His lordship. The joyful descent of rain issues from His sending down and favouring, giving glad tidings to animals through the provision of plants. And the movement of the moons comes from His determination and rotation, to designate times and years for conscious beings among His creation. Glory be to Him! How luminous is His proof! How astonishing is His sovereignty! Fourth degree. آمنا بأنه لا إله إلا الله الذي دل على وجوب وجوده في وحدته وعلى كمال رحمانيته في محاسن ربوبيته، الأرض الشاهدة بكلمات معادنها المدخرات بالحكمة للحاجات، وكلمات نباتاتها المتسنبلات بالرحمة للأقوات، وبكلمات أشجارها المثمرات بالعناية للأرزاق، وبكلمات هي حيواناتها المصورات المدبرات بأكمل تدبير وإدارة، وبأحسن تربية وإعاشة، وبألطف إطعام ومحافظة، بدقائق الحكمة والإرادة، وبلطائف الرحمة والعناية، جل جلاله. فسبحان من جعل حديقة أرضه، مشهر صنعته، محشر فطرته، مظهر قدرته، مدار حكمته، مزهر رحمته، مزرع جنته، ممر المخلوقات، مسير القافلات، مسيل الموجودات، مكيل المصنوعات. فجميع تلك القافلات، لا سيما مزين الحيوانات، منقش الطيورات، مثمر الشجرات، مزهر النباتات، معجزات علمه، خوارق صنعته، هدايا جوده، بشائر لطفه، فتبسم الأزهار من تزين الأثمار، وتهزج الأمطار على خدود الأزهار، وتسجع الأطيار في نسمة الأسحار، وترحم الوالدات على الأطفال الصغار، وتزين الأشياء والأشجار، وتبرج الأزهار والأثمار. ما هي إلا تعرف صانع ودود، وتودد خالق رحمن، ترحم منعم حنان، وتحنن محسن منان، للجن والإنسان، والروح والحيوان، والملك والجان، بالحجة والبرهان، بل بالمشاهدة والعيان. We believe with certainty that there is no God but God, He who indicates the necessity of His existence in His unity and the perfection of His all-mercifulness in the beauteous manifestations of His Lordship. The earth bears witness to Him, through the words of its minerals stored up with wisdom for human needs, through the words of its plants brought forth in abundance with mercy for nourishment, through the words of its fruit-bearing trees bestowed with solicitude for sustenance, and through the words that are its animals, formed and governed with the most perfect administration, the finest training and nurture, the gentlest feeding and protection, with the subtleties of wisdom and will, and with the delicacies of mercy and care. Glory be unto Him. So glory be to the One who made the garden of the earth a display ground of His artistry, an assembly place of His creation, a manifestation of His power, the axis of His wisdom, the orchard of His mercy, the field of His paradise, the passageway of creatures, the route of caravans, the channel of beings, and the measure of created things. Thus, all those caravans, especially the adorned animals, the embroidered birds, the fruit-laden trees, and the flower-decked plants, are miracles of His knowledge, wonders of His artistry, gifts of His generosity, and glad tidings of His gentleness. For the smiling of flowers from the ornamentation of fruits, the joyful falling of rain upon the cheeks of blossoms, the melodious singing of birds in the breeze of dawn, the compassion of mothers toward their tender young, the adornment of things and trees, and the graceful display of flowers and fruits. All these are nothing but the self-disclosure of a loving Maker, or Sani Vedud, the affection of a merciful Creator, or Halakar Rahman, the compassion of a bestowing benefactor, or Hanan, and the tender kindness of a munificent doer, or Menon, of good, toward jinn and humankind, spirit and animal, angel and spirit beings, not merely by argument and proof, but by direct witnessing and evident observation. Fifth degree. لا إله إلا الله الذي دل على وجوب وجوده في وحدته وعلى عظمة حاكميته في حشمة ربوبيته جميع البحار والعيون والأنهار بكلمات جواهرها المزينات وحيواناتها المنتظمات ووارداتها وصرفياتها بالميزان وادخارها ومحافظتها بالانتظام. There is no God but God, He who indicates the necessity of His existence in His unity and the majesty of His sovereignty in the awesomeness of His lordship. All the seas, the springs, and the rivers bear witness to Him, through the words of their adorned jewels, through the words of their orderly living creatures, through the measured balance of their inflows and outflows, and through their storage and preservation maintained with perfect order. Sixth degree. لا إله إلا الله الذي دل على وجوب وجوده في وحدته وعلى عظمة سلطنة ألوهيته في لطائف تدابير ربوبيته جميع الجبال والأودية والصحارى الشاهدات بكلمات معادنها ودفائنها وخزائنها ومنابعها المدخرات المسخرات المهيئات بالتدابير الاحتياطية لأنواع حاجات أنواع ذوي الحياة وبكلمات نباتاتها المزينات المتزهرات المتبسمات المتسنبلات المرسلات لإطعام المخلوقات وبكلمات أشجارها المورقات المزهرات المثمرات الناشرات أيديها بالأثمار لإنفاق ذوي الحياة. There is no God but God, He who indicates the necessity of His existence in His unity and the majesty of the sovereignty of His divinity in the subtle workings of His lordly governance. All the mountains, valleys, and deserts bear witness to Him. Through the words of their minerals, buried treasures, stores, and springs, set aside, subdued, and prepared by prudent and provident measures for the varied needs of the various kinds of living beings. And through the words of their plants, adorned, blossoming, smiling, and ear-bearing, sent forth to feed all creatures. And through the words of their trees, leafing, flowering, and fruit-bearing, spreading out their hands with fruits for the expenditure and sustenance of living beings. Seventh degree. لا إله إلا الله الذي دل على وجوب وجوده في وحدته وعلى أنواع نقوش جلوات أسمائه ومحاسن صنعته في لطائف دقائق حكمته، إجماع جميع أنواع النباتات وجميع أصناف الأشجار الشاهدات بكلمات الأوراق والأزهار والبذور والأثمار الموزونات المنظومات الفصيحات البليغات المنشدات لمدائح خلاقها ومصورها ومزينها، بشهادة إحاطة حقيقة تبارز إرادة الإحسان والإنعام والإكرام والامتنان في الكل على ذوي الحياة بإهدائها لها مزينة بلطائف الرحمة والعناية، وتظاهر حقيقة التصوير والتدبير والتمييز والتزيين في كلها بدقائق الحكمة والإرادة والزرع والنشر، لا سيما بطيران البذور بأجنحة الأشعار، وبمشاهدة حقيقة فتح جميع صورها المتباينة الغير المحدودة بكمال الانتظام والاتزان والامتياز على مر الزمان والمواسم بلا سهو ولا نسيان، من بذورات ونواتات، حبات متشابهات، مختلطات مخترعات، دفعة من العدم، محدودات معدودات، حتى صارت البذور والأثمار والحبوب والأزهار معجزات الحكمة، خوارق الصنعة، هدايا الرحمة، خلاصات الأطعمة، براهين الوحدة، بشائر لطفه في دار الآخرة، شواهد صادقة بأن خلاقها على كل شيء قدير وبكل شيء عليم، قد وسع كل شيء بالرحمة والعلم والصنع والتصوير، حتى كأن الشمس في الكائنات كلة، والسراج في الخلق والتدبير، والنجوم في السماء كالأزهار، والأثمار في الصنع والتصوير، والأرض في الفضاء كالبيضة والحبة، لا تثقل عليه في الخلق والتقدير والصنع والتصوير. نعم، جميع النباتات والأشجار شاهدات على وجوب موجودية صانعها ووحدانيته بكمال الوضوح والظهور وغاية الصراحة والبيان، وبالخاصة عند انفتاح أكمامها وانكشاف أزهارها وتزايد أوراقها وتكامل ثمارها ورقص بناتها أي أولادها المتبسمة على أيادي أغصانها بأفواه مزينات أزاهيرها وأكمامها، وبألسنة منتظمات سنابلها وعناقيدها، وبحروف موزونات بذورها ونواتاتها، وبكلمات منظومات حباتها وثمارها، وبدلالات معاني مصنوعات نظامها في ميزانها، في تنظيمها، في توطينها، في تزيينها، في تمييزها، في صنعتها، في صبغتها، في زينتها، في نقوشها، في طعومها، في روائحها، في ألوانها، في أشكالها المتميزات المنتظمات الواصفات لتجليات صفات خلاقها، والمفسرات لجلوات أسمائه، والمعرفات لتودداته وتعرفاته إلى مخلوقاته، لا سيما توصيفوها لخلاقها بما يتقطر من ظرافة عيون أزاهيرها، ويترشح من طراوة أسنان سنابلها، ويتحلب من عسيلة شفاه ثمارها، من قطرات رشحات، لمعات جلوات، تودده وتحببه وتعرفه وتعهده لمصنوعاته. سبحانه، ما أزين برهانه وما أظهره وما أبهره. There is no God but God, He who indicates the necessity of His existence in His unity and the various kinds of engraved manifestations of the splendors of His names and the beauties of His artistry in the subtle and delicate details of His wisdom. The consensus of all species of plants and all varieties of trees bears witness to Him through the words of their leaves, flowers, seeds, and fruits, well-proportioned, well-ordered, eloquent, articulate, chanting the praises of their creator or Khalik, fashioner or musawwir, and adorner or muzayyin, testifying to the all-embracing reality of the manifestation of the will of beneficence, bestowal, generosity, and gracious favor bestowed upon all living beings, as gifts adorned with the subtleties of mercy and care. They also testify to the manifestation of the realities of giving form, administration, differentiation, and adornment in all of them, through the subtleties of wisdom and will, and through sowing and spreading, especially through the flight of seeds on the wings of hares, and through the observed unfolding of all their innumerable and diverse forms, with perfect order, balance, and distinction, throughout the passage of time and the succession of seasons, without confusion or forgetfulness. From similar, mixed and limited seeds, kernels and grains, created all at once from non-existence, there emerge miracles of wisdom, wonders of artistry, gifts of mercy, extracts of nourishment, proofs of unity, glad tidings of His grace in the abode of the hereafter, and truthful witnesses that their Creator is powerful over all things, knowing of all things, and that He has encompassed everything with mercy, knowledge, making, and forming. So much so that the sun among beings is like a fruit, a lamp in creation and governance. And the stars in the sky are like flowers and fruits in making and forming. And the earth in space is like an egg or a grain, not burdensome to Him in creation, determination, making, or forming. Yes, all plants and trees are witnesses to the necessary existence and unity of their Maker, with perfect clarity and manifestation, and with the utmost explicitness and eloquence, especially at the opening of their buds, the unfolding of their flowers, the increase of their leaves, the ripening of their fruits, and the dance of their smiling offspring upon the hands of their branches, with the mouths of their adorned blossoms and buds, with the well-ordered tongues of their ears and clusters, with the measured letters of their seeds and kernels, and with the well-composed words of their grains and fruits. They testify through the indications of meaning in their fashioned order, in their balance, in their arrangement, in their placement, in their adornment, in their distinction, in their making, in their colouring, in their ornamentation, in their patterns, in their tastes, in their scents, in their colours, and in their distinct and ordered forms, all of which describe the manifestations of the attributes of their Creator, interpret the splendours of His names, and introduce His loving kindness and self-disclosure to His creatures. In particular, they describe their Creator through what drips from the delicate eyes of their flowers, what oozes from the freshness of the teeth of their ears, and what flows from the honeyed lips of their fruits, droplets and exudations, gleams and manifestations of His loving kindness, affection, self-disclosure, and nurturing care for His works. Glory be to Him! How beautiful is His proof! How manifest it is! How dazzling it is! Eighth degree. لا إله إلا الله الذي دل على وجوب وجوده في وحدته وأحديته وعلى صفاته وأسمائه، إجماع جميع أنواع الحيوانات والحوينات وجميع أقسام الطيور والطويرات بكلمات الأعضاء والآلات المنتظمة بدقة الإرادة والحكمة، وبجمل الجوارح والجهازات المكملة بالمشيئة والعناية، وبمعاني الحواس والحسيات المنظمة بقصد الإحسان والرحمة، بشهادة إحاطة حقيقة الصنع والإبداع والخلق والاختراع من العدم في الكل بدقائق الحكمة والإرادة، وبشهادة تظاهر حقيقة التصوير والتدبير والتمييز والتزيين والتربية والإعاشة بمحاسن الرحمة والعناية، وبمشاهدة حقيقة فتح جميع صورها المتخالفة الغير المحصورة بكمال الانتظام والاتزان والامتياز، بالدوام في الفصول والأزمان بلا سهو ولا نسيان، من قطرات وبيضات متماثلة متشابهة مختلطة، منشآت من العدم، محصورات معدودات. There is no God but God, He who indicates the necessity of His existence in His unity and oneness, ahadiyya, and the attributes of His names. The consensus of all species of animals and animalcules, and of all kinds of birds and fledglings, bears witness, through the words of their limbs and instruments, precisely ordered by the exactness of will and wisdom, through the totality of their organs and systems, perfected with choice and care, and through the meanings of their senses and sensibilities, organized with the purpose of beneficence and mercy. They testify by the all-embracing reality of making, origination, creation, and invention from non-existence, manifested in all of them with the subtleties of wisdom and will, and by the manifest appearance of the realities of giving form, administration, differentiation, adornment, nurturing, and sustaining, with the beauties of mercy and care. They further testify by the observed unfolding of all their diverse and innumerable forms, with perfect order, balance, and distinction, continually, throughout the seasons and the passage of time, without confusion or forgetfulness. From similar, resembling and mixed droplets and eggs, originated from non-existence, limited and countable, there emerge endlessly renewed forms, each bearing witness with clarity to the unity, oneness, will, wisdom, mercy, and power of their Maker. Ninth degree. آمنا بأنه لا إله إلا الله الواجب الوجود الواحد الأحد الذي دل على وجوب وجوده في وحدته وأحديته وعلى صفاته وأسمائه وشؤونه وأفعاله، إجماع جميع الأنبياء والمرسلين مع جميع الأخيار بقوة ما لا يحصى من المعجزات الباهرات الظاهرات المتواترات المصدقات المصدقات، وما لا يحد من المكالمات والمناجات والمشاهدات، ومن المقابلات والإمدادات والإعانات الغيبيات الإلهيته. We believe with certainty that there is no God but God, the necessarily existent, the one, the single, Ahad. He who indicates the necessity of his existence in his unity and oneness, and in his attributes names divine modes, or shu'un, and divine acts. This truth is testified to by the consensus of all the prophets and messengers, together with all the elect among humankind, through the power of innumerable, dazzling, manifest and recurrent miracles, confirming and confirmed, and by the limitless divine conversations, intimate supplications, spiritual visions and direct witnessing, as well as by the encounters, the divine succors, and the unseen heavenly assistances granted to them. 10th degree. لا إله إلا الله الذي دل على وجوب وجوده في وحدته، إجماع الأصفياء والصديقين مع الأبرار بقوة ما لا يحد من البراهين الزاهرات الواضحات القاطعات المحققات، ومن الدلائل النورانيته الساطعات المدققات. There is no God but God, he who indicates the necessity of his existence in his unity. This truth is testified to by the consensus of the elect, al-Asfiya, and the veracious ones, al-Siddiqun, together with the righteous, al-Akbar, through the power of countless manifest, clear, decisive, and verifying proofs, and through luminous, radiant, and penetrating evidences. 11th degree. لا إله إلا الله الذي دل على وجوب وجوده في وحدته، إجماع الأولياء والأقطاب ذوي المقامات والأسرار بقوات ما لا يعد من الكشفيات المشهودات الصادقات المتطابقات. There is no God but God, he who indicates the necessity of his existence in his unity. This truth is testified to by the consensus of the saints, al-Awliya, and the spiritual poles, al-Aktab, those who are possessors of spiritual stations, maqama'at, and inner mysteries, asrar, through the power of countless unveilings, kashfiyat, truthfully witnessed disclosures, and mutually corroborating spiritual observations. 12th degree. لا إله إلا الله الذي دل على موجوديته في وحدانيته إجماع الملائكة المتمثلين للأبصار واتفاق الأرواح الطيبين الظاهرين للأنظار بقوة تطابق إخباراتهم المتوافقات المتواترات المشتهرات. There is no God but God, He who indicates His existence in His oneness. This truth is testified to by the consensus of the angels who assume visible forms, and by the agreement of the pure spirits who appear to sight, through the power of the conformity of their reports, which are mutually concordant, successively transmitted, and widely known. 13th degree. لا إله إلا الله الذي دل على وجوب وجوده في وحدته إجماع العقول المستقيمة بقوة يقينياتها واعتقاداتها المتوافقات على التوحيد مع تباين المذاهب، وكذا إجماع القلوب السليمة بقوة كشفياتها ومشاهداتها المتطابقات على الوحدة مع تخالف المشارب. There is no God but God, the one whose necessary existence in His unity is demonstrated by the consensus of sound intellects through the strength of their certainties and beliefs, which, despite the diversity of schools, are in agreement upon divine unity, and likewise by the consensus of sound hearts through the power of their unveilings and direct witnessing, which, despite the differing spiritual paths, are in conformity with unity. 14th degree. آمنا بأنه لا إله إلا الله الواجب الوجود الواحد الأحد الذي دل على وجوب وجوده في وحدته وعلى صفاته وأسمائه وشؤونه وأفعاله إجماع جميع الكتب المقدسة الإلهية والصحف السماوية مع جميع الوحيات في جميع الأدوار المتضمنة تلك الوحيات للتنزلات والتعرفات الإلهية إلى مخلوقاته والإمدادات والمقابلات الربانية لمناجاة عباده والإشعارات الرحمانية لوجوده لمخلوقاته. We believe that there is no God but God, the necessarily existent one, the unique, the one whose necessary existence in His unity and whose attributes, names, divine modes and acts are testified to by the consensus of all the revealed sacred books and the heavenly scriptures, together with all revelations throughout all the ages which those revelations comprise as divine descents and self-disclosures to His creatures, and through the divine bestowals and responses to the supplications of His servants, and through the merciful intimations of His existence to His creatures. 15th degree. لا إله إلا الله الذي دل على وجوب وجوده في وحدته إجماع الإلهامات الصادقة في كتب الأصفياء والصديقين في عموم الأعصار المتضمنة تلك الإلهامات للتوددات والتعرفات الربانية والإغاثات والإجابات الرحمانية في مقابلات دعوات مخلوقاته وللإحساسات السبحانية لحضوره لمصنوعاته. There is no God but God, the one who indicates the necessity of his existence in his oneness through the consensus of the truthful inspirations recorded in the books of the purified ones, al-Asfiya, and the veracious, al-Siddiqun, throughout all ages, which those inspirations comprise as divine acts of loving kindness and self-disclosures, and through the merciful succors and responses to the supplications of his creatures, and through the transcendent perceptions of his presence felt by his artifacts. 16th degree. لا إله إلا الله الواجب الوجود الواحد الأحد الفرد الصمد الذي دل وشهد وبرهن على وجوب وجوده في وحدته وعلى أحديته في صمديته وعلى صفاته في أسمائه وعلى شؤونه في أفعاله وعلى جماله وجلاله في كماله، فخر العالم بحشمة قرآنه وشرف نوع بني آدم بكثرة كمالاته، محمد صلى الله عليه وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم، بقوة المعجزات الباهرات الظاهرات على يديه وبقوة الكمالات العاليات المشهودات في ذاته وبقوة الحقائق القاطعات الساطعات في دينه وبقوة إجماع آله الأطهار ذوي الكرامات والخوارق والأنوار وبقوة اتفاق أصحابه الأخيار ذوي قوة البصائر ونفوذ الأنظار واستقامة الأفكار، ومع توافق الأصفياء ذوي البراهين القاطعة والتدقيقات الساطعة في عموم الأقطار والأعصار. There is no God but God, the necessarily existent one, the unique, the single, the self-sufficient, who himself indicates, bears witness to, and proves the necessity of his existence in his oneness, and his uniqueness within his self-sufficiency, and his attributes within his names, and his divine modes within his acts, and his beauty and majesty within his perfection. Muhammad, the glory of the world through the majesty of his Quran, and the honor of the human race through the abundance of his perfections. May God's blessings and peace be upon him and upon his family and companions, through the power of the manifest and evident miracles worked at his hands, and through the power of the exalted perfections clearly observed in his person, and through the power of the decisive, radiant truths contained in his religion, and through the power of the consensus of his pure family, possessors of wonders, marvels, and lights, and through the power of the agreement of his chosen companions, endowed with penetrating insight, far-reaching vision, and soundness of thought, together with the concurrence of the purified ones, al-Asfiya, possessors of decisive proofs and luminous verifications throughout all lands and ages. Seventeenth degree. لا إله إلا الله الواجب الوجود الواحد الأحد الذي دل وشهد وبرهن على وجوب وجوده في وحدته وعلى أحديته وصمديته وعلى صفاته وأسمائه وشؤونه وأفعاله وجماله وجلاله وكماله، القرآن المعجز البياني المنور للأكوان والأزمان، المقبول المرغوب لأنواع الملك والإنس والجان، المقروء كل آياته في كل دقيقة بألسنة مئات مليون من نوع الإنسان، وبألسنة ما لا يحصى من الروحانيات والمخلوقات ذوي الإذعان، الجاري سلطنته المعظمة على نصف الأرض وخمس نوع البشر في 14 عصرا بكمال الاحتشام والاحترام، المقرر حقائقه بالحقائق الراسخة الست بالحجة والبرهان، المصدق حقانيته من جانب المقامات الستة بالمشاهدة والعيان، المنور أطرافه من جهات الست بالتحقيق والإذعان، بإجماع سوره وآياته السماوية على التوحيد، وباتفاق حقائقه وأسراره القدسية على الوحدة، وبتوافق ثمراته وآثاره المعنوية على الوحدانية. There is no God but God, the necessarily existent one, the unique, who himself indicates, bears witness to, and proves the necessity of his existence in his oneness and in his uniqueness and self-sufficiency, and in his attributes, names, functions, acts, and in his beauty, majesty, and perfection, Quran, the miraculous exposition, illuminating the cosmos and all ages, accepted and sought after by all classes of angels, human beings, and jinn. All of whose verses are recited every minute by the tongues of hundreds of millions of human beings, and by the tongues of innumerable spiritual beings and conscious creatures, whose majestic sovereignty has ruled with perfect awe and reverence over half the globe and a fifth of the human race for 14 centuries, whose truths are firmly established by the 6 unshakable realities through proof and decisive evidence, whose truthfulness is confirmed from the 6 exalted stations through direct witnessing and clear observation, whose extremities are illuminated from the 6 directions by investigation and submission, through the consensus of all its chapters and verses, revealed from the heavens upon divine unity, Tawheed, through the agreement of its sacred truths and mysteries upon unity, Wahdat, and through the harmony of its fruits and its spiritual effects upon uniqueness, Wahdaniyat. 18th degree. آمنا بأنه لا إله إلا الله الواجب وجوده الممتنع نظيره الممكن كل ما سواه الذي دل على وجوب وجوده في وحدته وعلى صفاته وأسمائه وشؤونه وأفعاله. هذه الكائنات: الكتاب الكبير المجسم، القرآن الجسماني المعظم، القصر المزين المنظم، البلد المكمل المحتشم، بإجماع أبوابه وفصوله وصحفه وسطوره وآياته وكلماته وحروفه ونقاطه على وجوب وجود كاتبه ومؤلفه الأزلي الأبدي، وباتفاق أركانها وأنواعها وأجزائها وجزئياتها وسكنتها ومشتملاتها وتجدداتها وتحولاتها على وحدانية صاحبها وصانعها السرمدي، بشهادة إحاطة حقيقة الحدوث والإمكان والتغير في كلها، وبشهادة إحاطة حقيقة التداخل والتعاون والتناسب في عمومها بالانتظام، وبشهادة إحاطة حقيقة التغيير والتبديل تحت حكمة وإرادة، وحقيقة التصوير والتدبير تحت قصد ومشيئة، وحقيقة التربية والإعاشة تحت محافظة ونظام وميزان. فجميع الأجرام العلوية والموجودات الأرضية في بستان الكائنات معجزات قدرة خلاق عليم بالضرورة، وجميع هذه النباتات المتلونة والحيوانات المتنوعة المنثورة المنشورة في حديقة الأرض خوارق صنعة صانع حكيم بالبداهة، وجميع هذه الأزهار والأثمار المتزينة المتبسمة في جنان الكائنات هدايا رحمن رحيم بالحدس الشهودي، بل بالمشاهدة. تشهد هتيك وتنادي تاك وتعلن هذه بأن خلاقها ومصورها وواهبها على كل شيء قدير وبكل شيء عليم، تتساوى بالنسبة إليه الذرات والنجوم والمتناهي وغير المتناهي، فكل الوقوعات الماضية وغرائبها معجزات قدرة ذلك الصانع الحكيم، تشهد على أنه قدير على كل الإمكانات الاستقبالية وعجائبها. فالكائنات مثل الشجرة والقصر تدل بالقطع على موجودية من أسس في 6 أيام بنيان هذه الشجرة المحيطة والقصر المزين، وفرش أساساتها بأصول مشيئته وحكمته، وفصاها إلى أركانها بدساتير قضائه وقدره، ونظمها بقوانين عادته وسنته، وزينها بنواميس عنايته ورحمته، ونورها بخصوصيات إمدادات جلوات أسمائه وصفاته لضعفاء الأفراد وشذوذات قوانينه. فسبحان من جعل هذا العالم الكبير كهذا الإنسان الصغير في الصنع والتقدير، بكمال اليسر والسهولة والإبداع والتدبير بأحسن صورة. نعم، ذاك العالم الكبير كهذا العالم الصغير، مصنوع قدرته، مكتوب قدره. إبداعه لذاك بتجلي الألوهية صيره مسجدا، إيجاده لهذا بالعقل والإيمان صيره ساجدا، إنشاؤه لذاك مزرعة المحصولات صير ذاك ملكا، بناؤه لهذا ذي الذوق والاحتياج صيره مملوكا، صنعته في ذاك بغاية الانتظام تظاهرت كتابا، صبغته في هذا بأكملياتها بغاية الاتزان تبارزت خطابا، قدرته في ذاك تظهر حشمته وتبرز جلاله، رحمته في هذا تنظم نعمته تصف جماله، حشمته في ذاك تشهد هو الواحد الفرد لا ضد ولا شريك ولا نظير له، نعمته في هذا تعلن هو الأحد الصمد لا ند ولا معين ولا وزير له، سكته في ذاك في الكل والأجزاء سكونا حركة، خاتمه في هذا في الجسم والأعضاء حجيرة ذرة. We believe that there is no God but God, whose existence is necessary, whose like is impossible, and beside whom everything else is contingent, who indicates the necessity of his existence in his oneness and in his attributes, names, divine modes and acts. This universe and size, this vast embodied book, this great corporeal Quran, this ornamented and orderly palace, this perfectly arranged and awe-inspiring city, through the consensus of all its gates, chapters, pages, lines, verses, words, letters, and even its points, it bears decisive witness to the necessary existence of its eternal and everlasting author and composer. And through the agreement of its pillars, kinds, parts, particulars, inhabitants, contents, renewals, and transformations, it testifies to the oneness of its ever-enduring owner and maker, and through the all-embracing testimony of the realities of origination, contingency, and change within it, and through the comprehensive testimony of interpenetration, cooperation, and proportion in universal order, and through the encompassing testimony of alteration and replacement under wisdom and will, and of forming and directing under purpose and choice, and of nurturing and sustaining under preservation, order, and balance. All the celestial bodies and all earthly beings in this garden of the universe are, of necessity, miracles of the power of an all-knowing Creator, Halaka Alim. And all these variegated plants and diverse animals scattered and displayed in the garden of the earth are, self-evidently, wonders of the artistry of a wise maker, Sani-i Hakim. and all these adorned, smiling flowers and fruits in the orchards of existence are gifts of a compassionate and merciful one, Rahman ar-Rahim, not merely by intuitive perception, but by direct witnessing. They testify to this and proclaim that their creator, Halak, fashioner, Musawwir, and bestower, Wahib, is powerful over all things and knowing of all things. For atoms and stars, the finite and the infinite, are equal in relation to him. And all past events, together with their wonders, are miracles of the power of that wise Maker, bearing witness that he is powerful over all future possibilities and their marvels. Thus, beings, like a tree or a palace, demonstrate with certainty the existence of the One, who founded, in 6 days, the structure of this all-embracing tree and this ornamented palace, who spread its foundations with the principles of his will and wisdom, who detailed it into its pillars with the ordinances of his decree and determining, who ordered it with the laws of his customary practice, who adorned it with the norms of his care and mercy, and who illuminated it with the particular effusions of the manifestations of his names and attributes for the frailty of individuals and the exceptional cases of his laws. Glory be to him who made this great world like this small human being in artistry and determining with perfect ease and facility, and in origination and administration in the most excellent form. Yes, that great world, like this small world, is the work of his power, the inscription of his determining. Its creation through the manifestation of divinity has made it a mosque. Its being brought into existence for intellect and belief has made it a worshipper. Its being established as a field of harvest has made it a property. Its being constructed for taste and need has made it a possession. His artistry within it, with utmost order, has appeared as a book. His fashioning within it, with perfect balance, has emerged as a discourse. His power within it displays his majesty and manifests his glory. His mercy within it arranges his bounty and describes his beauty. His majesty within it proclaims he is the one, the single, without rival, partner, or equal. His bounty within it declares he is the unique, the self-sufficient, without peer, helper, or minister. His stamp within it, in the whole and in the parts, in stillness and motion. His seal within it, in bodies and organs, in cell and atom. All testify. 19th degree. آمنا بأنه لا إله إلا الله الواجب الوجود الواحد الأحد له الأسماء الحسنى وله المثل الأعلى الذي دل بذاته على وجوب وجوده في وحدته وعلى صفاته وأسمائه وشؤونه وأفعاله. الذات الواجب الوجود بإجماع تجليات جميع صفاته وأسمائه وأفعاله وشؤونه بسر الإحاطة بكل شيء بالفعالية في الحكمة وإشعاراتهما بوجوده والاستيلاء على كل شيء بالتصرفات في الرحمة وإحساساتهما بحضوره عندها وباتفاق جميع آثاره ومصنوعاته بسر التدبير والإدارة بغاية الانتظام والميزان وبسر التربية والإعاشة بغاية الإحسان والإنعام. وكذا شهد على وجوبه ووحدته بشهادة مشاهدة عظمة إحاطة حقيقة تبارز الألوهية المطلقة المحيطة لأقطار الكائنات في تظاهر الربوبية المطلقة العامة لجميع المخلوقات في مشاهدة الفعالية الدائمة الشاملة لجميع المصنوعات المستمرة في كل آن وزمان وفي كل كون ومكان بالصنع والإبداع والخلق والتقدير والتغيير والتبديل والتربية والتدبير والمحافظة والإعاشة بكمال الانتظام والاتزان والامتياز والاتقان بلا قصور ولا نقصان. نعم، فما حقيقة هذه الكائنات كلاً وأجزاء وصحائف وطبقات، وما حقائق هذه الموجودات كلياً وجزئياً ووجوداً وبقاءً، إلا وهي ظلال أنواره وآثار أفعاله وأنواع نقوش أنواع جلوات أسمائه، وإلا خطوط قلم قضائه وقدره وتنظيمه وتقديره بعلم وحكمة، وإلا نقوش بركار علمه وحكمته وتصويره وتدبيره بصنع وعناية، وإلا تزيينات يد بيضاء صنعه وعنايته وتحسينه وتنويره بلطف وكرم، وإلا أزاهير عين لطفه وكرمه وتودده وتعرفه برحمة ونعمة، وإلا ثمرات فياض عين رحمته ونعمته وترحمه وتحننه بجمال وكمال، وإلا لمعات جلوات جماله وكماله. فكل ما في الموجودات من المحاسن والكمالات من لمعات جلوات جماله وكماله بسر مرور المرايا وذهاب المظاهر مع دوام التجلي بالاستمرار. نعم، تفاني المرآة، زوال الموجودات مع التجلي الدائم مع الفيض الملائم، من أظهر الظواهر من أبهر البواهر، أن الجمال الظاهر أن الكمال الزاهر ليس ملك المظاهر، من أفصح تبيان من أوضح برهان على الجمال المجرد والإحسان المجدد والكمال المسرمد للواجب الوجود للواحد الودود. فكما أن الأثر المصنع المنظم المكمل يدل بالبداهة على الفعل الاختياري المكمل، وهو على الاسم العنوان، وهو على الوصف المصدر له، وهو على الاستعداد والشأن الذاتي، وهو على الذات الفاعل الصانع، كذلك جميع هذه الآثار المكملة شاهدات على الأفعال الإلهية بالبداهة، وهي على الأسماء الحسنى بالضرورة، وهي على الصفات القدسية بعلم اليقين، وهي على الشؤون الذاتية بعين اليقين، وهي على الذات الواجب الوجود في وحدانيته وأحديته وفي جلاله وجماله وكماله بعلم اليقين وعين اليقين وحق اليقين، وتشهد على شهادة الله بهذه الشهادة السابقة: آية شهد الله أنه لا إله إلا هو والملائكة وأولو العلم قائما بالقسط، لا إله إلا هو العزيز الحكيم، إن الدين عند الله الإسلام، صدق الله العظيم. We believe that there is no God but God, the necessarily existent one, the unique, to whom belong the most beautiful names and the highest similitude, who indicates by his very essence the necessity of his existence in his oneness, and indicates his attributes, his names, his divine modes, and his acts. The necessarily existent essence, through the unanimous agreement of the manifestations of all his attributes, his names, his acts, and his divine modes. Through the mystery of his all-encompassing grasp of all things by effective wisdom, and through their intimations and indications of his existence, and through his absolute dominion over all things by acts of disposal in mercy, and their sensing of his presence within them, and through the agreement of all his effects and works by the mystery of administration and governance with the utmost order and balance, and through the mystery of nurture and sustenance with the utmost beneficence and bestowal. And thus he bears witness to the necessity of his existence and his oneness through the witnessing of the tremendous comprehensiveness of the reality of the absolute divinity encompassing all realms of beings within the manifestation of absolute, universal lordship over all creatures, in the witnessing of continuous, all-embracing efficacy over all created things, persisting at every instant and time, and in every world and place, through making and originating, through creating and determining, through changing and transforming, through nurturing and administering, through preserving and sustaining, with perfect order, balance, distinction, and precision, without deficiency and without flaw. Yes, then the reality of these beings, in their totality and in their parts, in their pages and their layers, and the realities of these existence universally and particularly in existence and in subsistence, are nothing but the shadows of his lights and the traces of his acts and the various inscriptions of the diverse manifestations of his names. Or they are but the lines of the pen of his decree and determining, and of his ordering and measuring with knowledge and wisdom. Or they are but the inscriptions of the workings of his knowledge and wisdom, and of his forming and governing with artistry and care. Or they are but the adornments of the radiant hand of his making and care, and of his beautifying and illuminating with grace and generosity. Or they are but the blossoms of the essence of his gentleness and generosity, and of his loving kindness and self-disclosure with mercy and bounty. Or they are but the fruits of the overflowing source of his mercy and grace, and of his compassion and tenderness, with beauty and perfection. Or they are but the gleams of the manifestations of his beauty and perfection. For all the beauties and perfections found in all beings are from the gleams of the manifestations of his beauty and perfection, through the mystery of the passing of mirrors and the vanishing of appearances, together with the perpetual continuity of manifestation. Yes, the effacement of the mirror, the disappearance of existence together with continual manifestation, together with the inseparable effusion, is among the clearest phenomena and the most dazzling evidences that the apparent beauty and the visible perfection do not belong to the manifestations themselves. It is among the most eloquent explanations and the clearest proofs of abstract beauty, renewed beneficence, and eternal perfection belonging to the necessarily existent One, the loving. Just as a fashioned, ordered, perfected effect self-evidently points to a perfected intentional act, and that act points to the name which is its title, and to the attribute which is its source, and to the essential capacity and inherent quality, and to the acting, producing essence. So too, all these perfected effects are self-evident witnesses to divine acts. And those acts necessarily point to the most beautiful names, and those names point with knowledge of certainty to the sacred attributes, and those attributes point with certainty of vision to the divine modes, and they all point with knowledge of certainty of vision, and absolute certainty to the necessarily existent essence in his oneness and his uniqueness, and in his majesty, beauty, and perfection. And this preceding testimony is itself testified to by the verse. God bears witness that there is no God but He, and so do the angels and those endowed with knowledge maintaining justice. There is no God but He, the mighty, the wise. Indeed, the religion with God is Islam. Quran, chapter 3, verses 18 and 19. God has spoken the truth, the supreme. 20th degree, these are the proofs of divine unity. لا إله إلا الله الواحد الأحد ذو الكبرياء والعظمة المنافيتين للشركة بالضرورة. There is no God but God, the one, the unique, the possessor of majesty and grandeur, which necessarily preclude all partnership. 21st degree, لا إله إلا الله ذو الأميرية العامة والحاكمية المطلقة المانعتين من الشرك بالبداهة. There is no God but God, the possessor of universal command and absolute sovereignty, which self-evidently preclude all partnership. 22nd degree, لا إله إلا الله ذو الربوبية الشاملة والألوهية المطلقة المستلزمتين للوحدة بسر توقف غاياتهما وكمالاتهما على الوحدانية. There is no God but God, the possessor of all-embracing lordship and absolute divinity, both of which necessarily require unity, by the mystery that the ultimate purposes and perfections of both depend upon unity. 23rd degree, لا إله إلا الله ذو الفتاحية المتماثلة العامة المكملة وذو الرحمانية الواسعة المتشابهة المنتظمة الدالتين بسر الإحاطة وبسر التماثل على الوحدة بالضرورة. There is no God but God, the possessor of a universal, perfectly ordered and mutually corresponding opening, al-Fatahiyya, and the possessor of an all-embracing, expansive, harmonious and well-ordered mercifulness, al-Rahmaniyya, both of which necessarily indicate unity by the mystery of all-encompassing comprehensiveness and by the mystery of correspondence and similarity. 24th degree, لا إله إلا الله ذو الإدارة المحيطة من الذرات إلى السيارات المنتظمة والإعاشة الشاملة لكل ذوي الحياة المقننة الشاهدتين بسر الإحاطة والتداخل على الوحدانية بالبداهة. There is no God but God, the possessor of an all-embracing administration, from particles to the well-ordered planets, and of a comprehensive sustaining and providing for every living being in accordance with a law, both of which self-evidently testify to unity through the mystery of all-encompassing comprehensiveness and interpenetration. 25th degree, لا إله إلا الله ذو الأسماء والأفعال المحيطة وصانع العناصر والأنواع المستولية الشاهدة بإحاطتها واستيلائها على الوحدة. There is no God but God, the possessor of all-encompassing names and acts, and the maker of the elements and the species, which through their evident encompassing and dominance bear witness to unity. 26th degree, لا إله إلا الله موجد الأشياء بالكثرة المطلقة في السرعة المطلقة في السهولة المطلقة مع الانتظام المطلق وكمال حسن الصنعة وغلو القيمة الدالة هذه الكيفية على الوحدة بالضرورة. نعم، فانظر إلى آثاره المتسقة على وجه الأرض كيف ترى كالفلق سخاوة مطلقة مع انتظام مطلق في سرعة مطلقة مع اتزان مطلق في سهولة مطلقة مع اتقان مطلق في كثرة مطلقة مع كمال مطلق في وسعة مطلقة مع حسن صنع مطلق في بعدة مطلقة مع اتفاق مطلق في توافقات مطلقة مع تمايز مطلق في خلطة مطلقة، مع امتياز مطلق في مبذولية مطلقة، مع غلو القيمة. فهذه الكيفية المشهودة لشاهدة للعاقل المحقق ومجبرة للأحمق المنافق على قبول الوحدة والصنعة للحق ذي القدرة المطلقة، وهو العليم المطلق، إذ في الوحدة سهولة مطلقة إلى درجة الوجوب واللزوم، وفي الكثرة صعوبة منغلقة إلى درجة الامتناع. There is no God but God, the one who brings all things into existence, in absolute multiplicity, with absolute speed, with absolute ease, together with absolute order, and with the utmost perfection of craftsmanship and the highest value. This mode of creation necessarily points to unity. Yes, then look at his harmonious signs, Athar, spread over the face of the earth. You see, like the dawn, an absolute generosity, together with absolute order, in absolute speed, absolute balance together with absolute ease, absolute precision within absolute multiplicity, absolute perfection within absolute abundance, absolute excellence of artistry within absolute vastness, absolute harmony within absolute correspondences, absolute distinction within absolute intermingling, absolute differentiation within absolute profusion, together with the highest value. Thus, this observed mode is a testimony for the discerning intellect, and a compulsion even for the foolish hypocrite to accept unity and true craftsmanship belonging to the possessor of absolute power, who is the all-knowing, the Absolute. For within unity there is an absolute ease, reaching the degree of necessity and inevitability, whereas within multiplicity there is an insurmountable difficulty, reaching the degree of impossibility. 27th degree. لا إله إلا الله الواحد الأحد الذي تزاحمت خواتم وحدته على كل مكتوب من مكتوباته في كل صفحة من صفحات موجوداته، حتى كأن كل زهرة وثمرة وكل نبات وشجر، بل كل حيوان وحجر، في كل واد وجبل وكل باد وقفر، خاتم بين النقش والأثر، يظهر لدقة النظر بأن ذاك الأثر هو صانع نوعه وجنسه، فهو كاتب ذاك المكان بالعبر، فهو كاتب صحائف البر والبحر بمداد النباتات وذوي الحياة والشجر، فهو نقاش صحف السماوات بمداد النجوم وبمرصعات السيارات والشمس والقمر. There is no God but God, the One, the Unique, whose seals of unity are densely impressed upon every written thing among his inscriptions, on every page of the book of his existence, so much so that every flower and every fruit, every plant and every tree indeed, every animal and every stone, in every valley and every mountain, in every wilderness and every desolate land, bears a clear seal in its engraving and effect. It shows to the one who looks carefully that the maker of that effect is the maker of its kind and its genus. Thus, he is the writer of that place in meaningful signs. He is the writer of the pages of land and sea with the ink of plants, living beings and trees, and he is the engraver of the pages of the heavens with the ink of the stars and with the jeweled adornments of the planets, the sun and the moon. 28th degree. These are the proofs of the Muhammadan messengership. La ilaha illallah, wahdahu la sharika lah. La ilaha illallah, al-wajib al-wujud, al-wahid al-ahad. لا إله إلا الله الملك الحق المبين محمد رسول الله صادق الوعد الأمين. بشهادة ظهوره دفعة مع أميته بأكمل دين وشريعة وبأقوى إيمان وعبادة وبأعلى دعوات ودعوة وبأعم تبليغ وأتم متانة خارقات مثمرات لا مثل لها، تدل على غاية جديته واعتماده وعلى غاية وثوقه واطمئنانه وعلى كمال صدقه وحقانيته. There is no God but God, alone, without partner. There is no God but God, the necessarily existent one, the unique. There is no God but God, the sovereign, the true, the manifest. Muhammad is the messenger of God, true to his promise, trustworthy. By the testimony of his sudden appearance, together with his unlettered state, yet bringing the most perfect religion and law, and with the strongest faith and worship, and with the loftiest prayers and summons, and with the most comprehensive proclamation, and the firmest steadfastness, and by means of miraculous fruitful results, the like of which have never been seen, which indicate the utmost seriousness and reliance, the utmost confidence and assurance, and the complete truthfulness and veracity of his claim. 29th degree. لا إله إلا الله الملك الحق المبين محمد رسول الله صادق الوعد الأمين. بشهادة آلاف المعجزات المحمدية والكمالات الأحمدية، وبشهادة ما لا يحد من الحقائق القرآنية والبراهين الفرقانية، ومن إشارات الحقائق الجوشنية، ومن دلائل الرسائل النورية، وبشهادة مئات الإرهاصات المبشرات المتواترات الماضية، وآلاف الحادثات المشهودات المصدقات الاستقبالية. There is no God but God, the sovereign, the true, the manifest. Muhammad is the messenger of God, true to his promise, trustworthy, by the testimony of thousands of Muhammadan miracles, and of the perfections pertaining to Ahmad, and by the testimony of innumerable Quranic truths and Furqanic proofs, and of the elusive indications of the truths of the Jawshan, and of the evidences contained in the Risale-i Nur, and by the testimony of hundreds of pre-eternal signs and glad tidings transmitted through recurrent reports in the past, and of thousands of future events witnessed and verified that confirm his truthfulness. 30th degree. لا إله إلا الله الملك الحق المبين محمد رسول الله صادق الوعد الأمين. بشهادة قوة يقينيات آله الأطهار ذوي المقامات والكشفيات والأنوار، بالتصديق له والإيقان بدرجات حق اليقين، وبشهادة كمال إيمان أصحابه الأخيار ذوي قوة البصائر ونفوذ الأنظار واستقامة الأفكار، بالتصديق له والإيمان في درجات عين اليقين، وبشهادة قوة تحقيقات الأصفياء ذوي البراهين القاطعة وتدقيقات الأنظار، بالتصديق له والاعتقاد في درجات علم اليقين، وبشهادة تطابق كشفيات الأقطاب على رسالته ذوي المراتب والأسرار، بدرجات الكشفيات والمشاهدات بالتحقيقين واليقين، وبشهادة تواتر تصديقات الأنبياء له في الصحف والأخبار، وبشهادة بشارات الرسل برسالته بالمشاهدة في الكتب ذات الأنوار في الأزمنة السالفين، وبشهادة تواتر بشارات الكواهن والهواتف والعرفاء السابقين. There is no God but God, the sovereign, the true, the manifest. Muhammad is the messenger of God, true to his promise, trustworthy. By the testimony of the powerful certainties of the pure saints, possessors of spiritual ranks, unveilings and lights, who confirm him and attain degrees of absolute certainty, haq al-yaqeen. And by the testimony of the perfection of faith of his elect companions, endowed with penetrating insight, far-reaching vision and rectitude of thought, who affirm him and believe at the degrees of certainty through direct vision, ayn al-yaqeen, and by the testimony of the force of the verified investigations of the purified scholars, possessors of decisive proofs and precise discernment, who affirm him and hold belief at the degrees of knowledge of certainty, ilm al-yaqeen, and by the testimony of the conformity of the unveilings of the spiritual poles, aktab, possessors of ranks and mysteries, with his messengership at the levels of unveiling and direct witnessing in realization and certainty, and by the testimony of the recurrent confirmations of the prophets concerning him in the revealed pages and transmitted reports, and by the testimony of the glad tidings given by the messengers of his messengership, clearly witnessed in the luminous scriptures of former times, and by the testimony of the recurrent glad tidings of soothsayers, unseen voices, and the earlier Gnostics. 31st degree. لا إله إلا الله الملك الحق المبين محمد رسول الله صادق الوعد الأمين بشهادة الكائنات بحقائقها وغاياتها على رسالته بسر توقف حصول غايات الكائنات وتوقف ظهور المقاصد الإلهية منها وتوقف تقرر قيمتها ووظائفها وتوقف تبارز حسنها وكمالاتها، بل وتوقف تحقق حكمها وحقائقها على سر الرسالة البشرية، لا سيما الرسالة المحمدية، إذ هي الكاشفة المظهرة المدار الأتم لها، ولولا الرسالة الإنسانية لا سيما الرسالة المحمدية لصارت هذه الكائنات المكملة ذوي المعاني السرمدية والحقائق الراسخة هباء منثورا متطايرة المعاني ومتساقطة الكمالات، وهو محال من وجوه وجهات. There is no God but God, the sovereign, the true, the manifest. Muhammad is the messenger of God, true to his promise, trustworthy, by the testimony of all beings, through their realities and their ultimate purposes, to his messengership. For the attainment of the aims of beings, the manifestation of the divine purposes within them, the determination of their true value and functions, the emergence of their beauty and perfections. Indeed, even the realization of their wisdoms and realities, all depend upon the mystery of human messengership, and most particularly upon the Muhammadan messengership. For it is that messengership which discloses and manifests them, and which constitutes their most complete axis and point of reference. Were it not for human messengership, and especially for the Muhammadan messengership, these perfected beings, endowed with eternal meanings and firmly established realities, would be reduced to scattered dust, their meanings dispersed, their perfections collapsing and falling away, which is impossible from every aspect and in every respect. 32nd degree. لا إله إلا الله الملك الحق المبين محمد رسول الله صادق الوعد الأمين بشهادة صاحب الكائنات وخلاقها ومدبرها ومتصرفها بأفعاله وإجراءاته على رسالته، أي بإنزال القرآن المعجز البيان عليه، وبإظهار أنواع المعجزات الباهرات على يديه، وبتوفيقه وحمايته في كل حالاته، وبإدامة دينه وإعلائه بكل حقائقه، وبإعلاء مقام حرمته وشرفه وإكرامه على جميع مخلوقاته بالمشاهدة والعيان، وبجعل رسالته شمساً معنوية لكائناته، وبجعل دينه فهرستة كمالات مخلوقاته وعباده، وبجعل حقيقته مرآة جامعة لتجليات الألوهية بالحجة والبرهان. نعم، فالألوهية المطلقة مستلزمة بسر التظاهر للرسالة في الإنس والجان، لا سيما الرسالة المحمدية، إذ هي المرآة الجامعة لتجليات الكمالات الإلهية. There is no God but God, the sovereign, the true, the manifest. Muhammad is the messenger of God, true to his promise, trustworthy, by the testimony of the possessor of all beings, their creator, their sustainer, and their disposer through his acts and dispositions, to his messengership. That is, by his sending down to him the Quran, miraculous in its eloquence, by his manifesting upon his hand the various kinds of dazzling miracles, by his granting him success and protection in every circumstance, by his perpetuating and exalting his religion together with all its truths, by his visibly raising the rank of his sanctity, honor, and nobility above all his creatures, by his making his messengership a spiritual sun for his beings, by his making his religion an index of the perfections of his creatures and servants, and by his making his reality an all-embracing mirror for the manifestations of divinity, through decisive proof and conclusive argument. Yes, absolute divinity necessarily requires, by the mystery of self-manifestation, the appearance of messengership among humankind and jinn, and most particularly the Muhammadan messengership, for it is the comprehensive mirror of the manifestations of the divine perfections. اللهم يا من تسبح له السماوات السبع والأرض ومن فيهن، نشهدك ونشهد جميع ما سبق بأننا نشهد بأنك أنت الله الواجب الوجود، الواحد الأحد الفرد الصمد، الحي القيوم، القدير العليم، الرحمن الرحيم الخلاق الحكيم، لك الأسماء الحسنى، لا إله إلا أنت وحدك لا شريك لك. وكذا نشهدك ونشهد الدلائل السابقة بأن نشهد أن محمدًا عبدك ونبيك وصفيك وخليلك، وجمال ملكك ومليك صنعك، وعين عنايتك، وشمس هدايتك، ولسان حجتك ومحبتك، ومثال رحمتك، ونور خلقك، وشرف موجوداتك، وسراج وحدتك في كثرة مخلوقاتك، وكشاف طلسم كائناتك بحقيقته وبقرآنه، ودلال سلطنة ربوبيتك، ومبلغ مرضياتك، ومعرف كنوز أسمائك، ومعلم عبادك، وترجمان آيات كائناتك، ومدار شهودك وإشهادك، ومرآة أنوار محبتك لجمالك وأسمائك، ومحبتك لصنعتك ومحاسن مخلوقاتك، وحبيبك ورسولك الذي أرسلته رحمة للعالمين. ولبيان محاسن سلطنة ربوبيتك يا رب العالمين بحكميات صنعة صبغة نقوش قصر العالمين، ولتعريف كنوز جلوات أسمائك يا إله الأولين والآخرين بإشارات معاني كلمات آيات سطور كتاب العالمين، ولبيان مرضيات رب السماوات والأرضين، فصل وسلم عليه وعلى آله وأصحابه وإخوانه بعدد حسنات أمته، ونستودع حفظك وحمايتك ورحمتك هذه الشهادات التي أنعمتها علينا في هذه الساعة، فاحفظها بعد القبول منا بأحسن قبول إلى يوم الحشر والميزان، واجعلها في صحيفة حسناتنا وحسنات أستاذنا بديع الزمان سعيد النرسي رضي الله عنه، وفي صحائف حسنات والدينا، وفي صحائف حسنات طلبة رسائل النور الصادقين، آمين بحرمة سيد المرسلين، والحمد لله رب العالمين. O God, O you whom the seven heavens and the earth and all that is in them glorify and declare your praise, we bear witness to you, and we call to witness all that has preceded, that we testify that you are God, the necessarily existent, the one, the single, the unique, the self-sufficient, the ever-living, the self-subsistent, the all-powerful, the all-knowing, the all-merciful, the all-compassionate, the all-creating, the all-wise. To you belong the most beautiful names. There is no God but you alone. You have no partner. And thus we bear witness to you, and we call to witness the foregoing proofs that we testify that Muhammad, peace be upon him, is your servant, your prophet, your chosen one, your intimate friend, the beauty of your dominion, the most excellent fruit of your artistry, the focus of your solicitude, the sun of your guidance, the tongue of your proof, the herald of your love, the exemplar of your mercy, the light of your creation, the honor of your beings, the lamp of your unity amid the multiplicity of your creatures, the solver of the talisman of your universe, through his reality and through his Quran, the guide to the sovereignty of your lordship, the proclaimer of what pleases you, the discloser of the treasures of your names, the teacher of your servants, the interpreter of the signs of your beings, the pivot of witnessing and testimony to you, the mirror of the lights of your love for your beauty and your names, and of your love for your art and the excellences of your creatures, your beloved and your messenger, whom you sent as a mercy to all the worlds, and for the exposition of the beauties of the dominical sovereignty of your lordship, O Lord of all the worlds, through the wise artistry of the colouring of the inscriptions of the palace of the universe, and for the making known of the treasures of the splendours of your names, O God of the first and the last, through the indications of the meanings of the words of the verses inscribed on the lines of the book of the worlds, and for the declaration of what pleases the Lord of the heavens and the earth. So bestow blessings and peace upon him, and upon his family, his companions, and his brethren, to the number of the good deeds of his community. And we entrust to your preservation, protection, and mercy these testimonies which you have bestowed upon us at this hour. Preserve them, after accepting them from us with the most beautiful acceptance, until the day of gathering and the balance, and place them in the register of our good deeds and in the register of the good deeds of our master Bediuzzaman Said Nursi, may God be pleased with him, and in the registers of the good deeds of our parents, and in the registers of the good deeds of the sincere and truthful students of the Risale-i Nur. Amen. For the sake of the Master of the Messengers. All praise be to God, the Lord of all the worlds. 33rd degree. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. وقل الحمد لله الذي لم يتخذ ولدا ولم يكن له شريك في الملك ولم يكن له ولي من الذل وكبره تكبيرا. الله أكبر من كل شيء قدرة وعلما، إذ هو العليم بكل شيء بعلم محيط لازم ذاتي للذات، يلزم الأشياء لا يمكن أن ينفك عنه شيء، بسر الحضور والشهود والنفوذ والإحاطة النورانية واستلزام الوجود لإحاطة نور العلم بعالم الوجود. فالانتظامات الموزونة والاتزانات المنظومة والحكم العامة والعنايات التامة والأقضية المنتظمة والأقدار المثمرة والأجال المعينة والأرزاق المقننة والاتقانات المفننة والاهتمامات المزينة وغاية كمال الانتظام والاتزان والاتقان والامتياز المطلق والسهولة المطلقة، يدل كل ذلك على إحاطة علم علام الغيوب بكل شيء. ألا يعلم من خلق وهو اللطيف الخبير؟ فنسبة دلالة حسن صنعة الإنسان على شعور الإنسان إلى نسبة دلالة حسن خلقة الإنسان على علم خالق الإنسان، كنسبة لميعة نجيمة الذبيبة في الليلة الدهماء إلى شعشعة الشمس في رابعة النهار. In the name of God, the all-merciful, the all-compassionate, and say, all praise be to God, who has not taken a son, who has no partner in his dominion, who has no protector out of weakness, and glorify him with great glorification. Quran, chapter 17, verse 111. God is greater than all things in power and in knowledge, for he is the all-knowing of all things, with an all-embracing, necessary, essential knowledge inseparable from his very being. Nothing can be detached from it by the mystery of presence, witnessing, penetration, and luminous encompassment. And the necessity of existence for the light of knowledge to encompass the realm of existence, the well-proportioned orderings, the harmonious balances, the universal wisdoms, the perfect providences, the orderly decrees, the fruitful measures, the appointed terms, the apportioned sustenances, the finely wrought perfections, the adorned attentions, and the utmost perfection of order, balance, precision, absolute distinction, and absolute ease. All of this indicates the all-encompassing knowledge of the all-knowing of the unseen over all things. Does he who creates not know, while he is the all-subtle, the all-aware? Quran, chapter 67, verse 14. Thus, the proportion between the indication of the beauty of human artistry to human awareness and the indication of the beauty of human creation to the knowledge of the Creator of humankind is like the proportion between the faint glimmer of a tiny firefly on a pitch-dark night and the dazzling brilliance of the sun at the height of midday. الله أكبر من كل شيء قدرة وعلما، إذ هو المريد لكل شيء، ما شاء الله كان وما لم يشأ لم يكن، إذ تنظيم صنعة هذه المصنوعات من بين الإمكانات الغير المحدودة والطرق العقيمة والاحتمالات المشوشة والسيول المتشاكسة بهذا النظام الأدق الأرق وتوزينها بهذا الميزان الحساس الجساس، وتمييزها بهذه التعينات المزينة المنتظمة، وخلق الأشياء المنتظمة الحيوية من البسيط الجامد الميت، كالإنسان بجهازاته من النطفة، والطير بجوارحه من البيضة، والشجر بأعضائه من الحبة. يدل كل ذلك على أن كل شيء مصنوع بمشيئته وإرادته وتخصيصه وترجيحه، سبحانه لا إله إلا هو. فكما أن توافق ذوي الحياة في أساسات الأعضاء النوعية والجنسية يدل على أن صانع الكل واحد، كذلك أن تمايزها بالتعينات المنتظمة يدل على أن ذلك الصانع الواحد الأحد فاعل مختار، يفعل ما يشاء ويحكم ما يريد. God is greater than all things in power and in knowledge, for He is the one who wills all things. What God wills comes to be, and what He does not will does not occur. Indeed, the ordering of the workmanship of these created beings from among limitless possibilities, barren paths, confused probabilities, and mutually clashing torrents into this most precise and most delicate order. Their being weighed with this exquisitely sensitive and perceptive balance, their being distinguished by these adorned and orderly determinations, and the creation of orderly living beings from simple, inanimate, lifeless matter, such as the human being with all his faculties from a drop of fluid, the bird with its organs from an egg, and the tree with its members from a seed. All of this indicates that everything is fashioned by His will, His choice, His specification, and His preference. Glory be to Him. There is no deity but He. Just as the harmony of living beings in the foundational structures of their specific and generic organs indicates that the Maker of all is one, so too their differentiation through orderly determinations indicates that this one and unique Maker, Sani-i Vahidi Ehad, is a choosing free agent, Fa'il-i Mukhtar, who does what He wills and decrees what He intends. الله أكبر من كل شيء قدرة وعلما، إذ هو القدير على كل شيء بقدرة مطلقة محيطة ضرورية ناشئة لازمة للذات، فمحال تداخل ضدها، فلا مراتب فيها، فتتساوى بالنسبة إليها. الذرات والنجوم، والجزئي، والكلي، والإنسان، والعالم، والنواة والشجر، بشهادة غاية كمال الانتظام المطلق، والاتزان المطلق، والامتياز المطلق، والاتقان المطلق، والامتياز الأتم في الكثرة والسر والوسعة والسهولة المطلقات، وبسر النورانية والشفافية والمقابلة والموازنة والانتظام والامتثال، وبسر إمداد الواحدية ويسر الوحدة وتجلي الأحدية، وبسر التجرد والوجوب ومباينة الماهية، وبسر عدم التقيد وعدم التحيز وعدم التجزي، وبسر انقلاب العوائق والموانع إلى حكم الوسائل المسهلات، وبسر أن الذرة والجزء والإنسان والنواة ليست بأقل جزالة وصنعة من النجم والكل والكلي والعالم والشجر، فخالق هاتيك هو خالق هؤلاء، وبسر أن المحاط كالأمثلة المكتوبة المصغرة أو كالنقط المحلوبة المعصرة، فلا بد أن يكون المحيط في قبضة خالقها ليدرج مثاله فيها بموازين علمه ويعصرها منه بدساتير حكمته. فكما أن قرآن العزة المكتوب على الجوهر الفرد يعني الذرة الأصغر بذرات الأثير ليس بأقل جزالة من قرآن العظمة المكتوب على صحف السماوات بمداد النجوم والشموس، فكاتب هذا هو كاتب ذاك. كذلك ليس ورد الزهرة بأقل جزالة من دري نجم الزهرة، ولا النملة من الفيلة، ولا النحلة من النخلة. فكما أن غاية كمال السرعة والسهولة أوقع أهل الضلالة في التباس التشكيل بالتشكل المستلزم لمحالات غير محدودة تمجها الأوهام، كذلك أثبت ذلك الكمال لأهل الهداية والحقيقة تساوي النجوم مع الذرات بالنسبة إلى قدرة خالق الكائنات جل جلاله. الله أكبر. God is greater than all things in power and in knowledge, for he is powerful over all things, with an absolute, all-encompassing, necessary power that arises from his essence and is inseparable from it. The intermingling of its opposite is impossible. There are no degrees within it. Thus, with respect to that power, atoms and stars, particulars and universals, the human being and the cosmos, the seed and the tree are all equal, as testified by the utmost perfection of absolute order, absolute balance, absolute distinction, absolute precision, and the most complete excellence within multiplicity, speed, vastness, and absolute ease. And this occurs through the mystery of luminosity, transparency, correspondence, equilibrium, order, and perfect compliance. Through the mystery of the extension of unity, the ease of oneness, and the manifestation of uniqueness, through the mystery of abstraction, necessity, and the distinction from the quiddity, through the mystery of being unconfined, non-localized and indivisible, and through the mystery of obstacles and impediments being transformed into facilitating means, and through the mystery that the atom, the part, the human being, and the seed are not less majestic nor less artfully fashioned than the star, the whole, the universal, the cosmos, or the tree, it follows that the creator of the former is the creator of the latter. And through the mystery that what is encompassed, like condensed written examples or compressed points, necessarily lies within the grasp of its creator, so that he may inscribe its model within it by the balances of his knowledge and extract it from it by the principles of his wisdom. Thus, just as the Quran of might written upon the indivisible substance, that is, the smallest particle, with the particles of ether, is not less majestic than the Quran of grandeur, written upon the pages of the heavens with the ink of stars and suns. The writer of this is the writer of that. Likewise, the rose of a Venus flower is not less majestic than the brilliant planet Venus, nor the ant than the elephant, nor the bee than the date palm. And just as the ultimate perfection of speed and ease has caused the people of misguidance to confuse forming with self-forming, necessitating countless impossibilities which the intellects recoil from, so too has that very perfection established for the people of guidance and truth the equality of stars and atoms with respect to the power of the Creator of all beings. Glory be to His Majesty. God is greater.